you are uniquely qualified, better than anyone in the marketplace, to solve this problem for them. And that's where thought leadership comes in. 57 discrete pieces of intellectual property, what I call intellectual property snapshots. So these are one-pagers.
Welcome to the Be Better broadcast. Today we are joined from a man all the way over in Toronto. His name is Nicky Billou. And for those who don't know Nicky is a Christian immigrant from the Middle East who is grateful to live in a free country. I'm with you, brother. He is the #1 international best-selling author of the book, Finish Line Thinking: How to Think and Win Like a Champion, The Thought Leader's Journey, A Fable of Life and the Power of Connecting, How to Activate Profitable Relationships by Serving Your Network. Nicky hosts the #1 podcast in the world on thought leadership, The Thought Leader Revolution. And he loves helping entrepreneurs to win big and make lots and lots of money while helping them make the difference that they were born to make. He is the founder of eCircle Academy, where he runs a mastermind and an educational program working with service-based entrepreneurs, helping position them as authorities in their niche. So today we're going to talk about how you can make more money. We're going to talk about how you can take the business you have or the business you want to have and add an additional $30,000 of income to your salary, what that looks like and how you can begin. So when you take away even just one tip, one strategy, new way of thinking that helps you from this episode with Nicky, all that we ask is you share this show with just one other person who could use it as well. We don't run sponsors. We don't run ads. We don't want to interrupt your viewing experience. And you're the reason that we've grown to over 370 episodes on the Be Better broadcast, because you are the best part of the Be Better team. So without further ado, Nicky, it's great to have you on the show, brother. Thanks for being here.
It's an honor to be here. Thanks for having me on, Brandon.
You're a very interesting guy, man. You have done a lot. You've got several books, New York Times bestselling author. You've got your 2 podcasts. I didn't even mention the other one. Maybe we could talk about that a little bit. You've got your academy. I mean, you've got clients. You've got a lot you're doing, and you've been doing it for a long time. I was checking out your YouTube channel, and you've been talking about these things for over a decade. And for those listening, a lot of people listening are business leaders, sales professionals, people building a career. And we're here today to talk about how you can add more money to what it is you do as a thought leader. So some people know what that is. Some people might think it's an influencer. Can you give me an idea? What is a thought leader? Is everyone a thought leader? What is this concept that you've been speaking on for over a decade?
Well, I appreciate it, man. First of all, as I said, thanks for having me on the show. It's really great to be here and speaking with you today. Before I get into that, let me dive a little more deeply into my backstory, because I think that will illuminate the answer better. So as you said, I'm originally an immigrant from the Middle East. I'm a Christian from Iran. When I was 11 years old, the Islamic Revolution took place in Iran. And my late father, God rest his soul, he and my mom could see the writing on the wall. This was not going to be a place to raise a Christian family. So they sat down, they made a plan, and eventually they got us out of Iran, and we landed where I now live in Toronto, Canada. Now, at 11, I didn't want to leave my home. I did not want to leave my friends, especially. But looking back, it was the single greatest thing my parents could have done to me, because they took me and my brothers from a legacy of tyranny into a legacy of freedom. And I believe inside every human breast beats the living heart of freedom. Everybody wants to chart their own path. Everybody believes and knows instinctively they were put here by their creator, by God Almighty, for a purpose, a mighty purpose. And it's up to them to really discover what that purpose is, to pick it, to choose it, to live it, to embrace it. And freedom is the basis of allowing that to happen, right? So I became a champion for freedom, for free expression, free enterprise. And if you think about it, every entrepreneur needs to believe in freedom, in free expression, and free enterprise. Without free enterprise, you can't have a business. You won't be allowed to pick the path that you want to go on. And I say this to every American, to every Canadian, to every person living in the free West right now. In this world, there are dark forces that are attempting to take these freedoms away from you under the guise of tolerance and equity. stand up against that. I've been there. I was there during the Iranian Revolution. It was the same crap they said to us while they took every last vestige of freedom we had away from us. Don't let them do it here. And my father, just like me, brother, was a champion for freedom. My dad was an entrepreneur, and he was the greatest man I ever knew. Brandon, if he knew you and you were looking for work, he would sit you down in his office and he would call all his entrepreneur buddies until one of them hired you. He would browbeat them and you'd have a job. If you were trying to start a business, Dad would sit down with you and he would help you think it through, get access to capital. He'd even get you clients because he knew lots of people. And if he knew you and you were trying to buy a car or a house and the bank wouldn't give you quite enough money, he would top you up with loan that he'd never let you pay back. And to this day, my dad's passed away 4 years ago. He was 81 at the time. People who I don't know still come to me and go, "Are you Napoleon Billou's son?" And I go, "Yes." And they go, "I want to shake your hand." And I go, "Why?" They said, "Because your father is the greatest man I knew. Your father helped me start a business. Your father got me a job. Your father helped me buy my first car, buy my first house." And it was unbelievable. You know, I'm proud to have been his son. And my dad, you know, he was a man who would always tell me when I was a kid growing up, "Son, remember, life isn't about numbers or money. It's about people." And I'd go, "Oh, okay, Dad." And then you say, "Even business, son, isn't about numbers or money. It's about people." And then I was a smart aleck kid. I go, "Come on, Dad, what are you talking about? Of course, business is about money, right? 8 years old. Got you, Dad, got you." And I said, "Without money, there's no business." Pleased as punch that I caught my dad in something, right? And he says, "That's true, son. Without people, there's no need for money. And you got to remember, son, that person sitting across from you, that's someone's brother. That's someone's son. That's someone's husband. That's someone's wife. That's someone's daughter. That's a hero to somebody. And they've got hopes. They've got dreams. They got fears. And maybe in business, they dealt with someone just like you who burned them. And it's your job to restore their faith in humanity." And I tell you something, my dad passed away 4 years ago, and he would always tell me, "Son, you got to believe in people. Everybody needs someone to believe in them, and you need to believe in people. You need to love on people. You need to pour into people." And my dad did that with every fiber of his being. And when he passed on, he passed that Billou torch to me. And what I do, the first thing that I am is I am a human being. I'm a humanist. I love people. I believe in people. I pour into people. I want them to be free. I want them to have the greatest possible life they could possibly have. And that is my superpower, brother, because there's lots of people in the world of business that have lots of skills and can teach them things. And I've got those, and I'm really good at what I do. But if there's one thing I'm proud of more than anything else, is how much I love on people, how much I believe in them, and how much I pour into them. And that comes from my late, great father, Napoleon Billou. Now,
wow. That's beautiful, brother.
Thank you.
Your father sounds like a fantastic man. And I don't know you, but I even if you don't know someone, you can feel their energy, right? You can sense you can sense their vibration. You can sense their meaning. And I can tell that you took a lot of what he taught you and you're living it, right? It's one thing to know something. It's another thing to live it. This idea, and I know you want to get to that question, but this idea of loving on people, right? And recognizing people. I read this book called The Magic by Rhonda Byrne, and it's all about gratitude. It's a fantastic book. And one of the chapters was, it's like a book where you read it for 30 days. Every day there's a new challenge. One of the challenges was every person that you interact with today, look into their eyes and think to yourself in your mind, even if they're a complete stranger, "I love this person." Right? Because if you can think that in your mind while you're looking at this person, it gives you, like you said, you're a brother, you're a son to someone, you're a husband, whatever you are. If you can elevate that emotion of love while you're speaking to someone, that helps you to ground yourself and realize this is another person, this is another life, and I have an opportunity in this moment to make a positive impact on this person. So I believe that some people just love people, and that's how they are. Maybe it's from their parents' environment. But I feel like it's also a muscle to love people, and people need to be loved now more than ever, especially after everything that's happened the last 3 to 4 years. People with the mental health epidemic, people need your love more than ever.
Amen, brother. Amen. It's so important. It's so necessary. And there's greatness in every human being. There's absolute greatness in every human being. And sometimes, man, they just doubt themselves. You just go out there and you go, oh my God, maybe I'm not so good. Maybe I'm an imposter. You know, that whole imposter syndrome thing. And all it takes is just one person to see who you really are, to tell you, hey, I see you. I love you. I believe in you. Yes, sir. I see you. I love you. I believe in you. You got what it takes. You're going to win. And that just little bit of encouragement will elevate somebody who's hurting, who's not believing in themselves too much right now. And it'll take them to a level of greatness and success that's available to them in the most uncommon of hours. And that's so, so important. You know, in my opinion, if you go to people and you go, okay, what does Nicky teach? I teach a lot of stuff. I teach thought leadership. I teach about podcast guesting. So I've developed something around that we can talk about. That's absolutely mind-blowingly great. And I help people get paid. You know, I am there to help them get paid. But they'll tell you, man, Nicky Billou wears his heart on his sleeve and he believes in me. And that makes them want to keep coming back. You know, that makes people want to keep coming back. It's a
beautifully said, man. And that ties into everything we're going to talk about, because helping people to unlock that part of them that, you know, we call it thought leader, but really, if you think about it, it's someone who has a skill, someone who has knowledge, someone who has experience, where you're using that experience to give and pour into other people, to teach them those things, right? We're in an era of information where people are listening to this on their phone, they're listening to it on their computer, whatever it is. Like, we never had this. Even when you began your business, we didn't have this access to information and knowledge and community that we have now. So I'm assuming a big part of why you speak on thought leadership and why this is a big passion of yours and how it ties into wealth creation is because it's people helping people. Is that right?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, 1,000%. You know, most people that get into business are people, my good friend and business partner and mentor, Mark Von Muser, says, these are people with high morals, high ethics. But unfortunately, these are also people with low marketing and sales skills. And one of the reasons is, like, you know, I'm someone who grew up in business. Like, my dad was an entrepreneur. I studied business in university. You know, I went to top schools, including Ivy League schools. Like, I know my stuff when it comes to business, but a lot of people don't. They don't know about marketing. They don't know about sales. They don't know about finance. They don't know about hiring and firing. They don't know that stuff. And marketing and sales in particular scares a lot of people, because a lot of good people don't want to be seen as slimy. They don't want to be seen as one of those, you know, people with commission breath, one of those charlatan marketers. They just don't want to be seen that way, right? So they don't go after business they should be going after. You know what I'm talking about, Brandon? And as a result of this, they absolutely don't get business they should be getting. And the people they could be helping don't get the help they need. And instead, some charlatan marketer comes in and swoops in and gets the business because they got low ethics, but they got great sales skills, man. You know what I'm saying? And they scoop up that business, and they don't care whether they deliver or not. If they deliver, it's a happy accident. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And everybody loses, right? You lose because, hey, you could have gotten business and you could have gotten fulfillment from helping somebody. The client loses because they still have a problem that is unsolved. And even the charlatan loses, because the law of karma, the law of what goes around comes around, will come into play for them. And at some point, man, they're going to have a reckoning that's going to absolutely destroy them. So it's bad for everybody. One of the things I got inside this world of thought leadership is you got to teach good people how to enroll, how to sell, because sales isn't a dirty word. So I said, let's reframe sales to service. Instead of selling, serve. You don't want to be sold. I don't want to be sold, right? But don't you love being served by a caring advocate? So just teaching people how to reframe that has helped so many people double, triple, quadruple their business. And then you marry that with thought leadership. And I want to tell you a story of a man. His His name was Carl Kramer. God rest his soul. He passed away in the summer of 2022 from cancer. Carl was a good man. He used to be an executive vice president at a manufacturing company. He made good money, like 350 grand a year. But he burned out. So he quit and became a business coach. But his income dropped 80%. Didn't like that so much, right? He came to me. He said, man, I just want to get my same salary back, but I don't want to work so hard. So I said, okay, Carl, so what can you help people with? He said, any business problem. I go, that's your first mistake. He said, okay, well, what should I do? I said, well, you got to narrow your focus to one business problem. So the problem he started focusing on was growth, Brandon, growth, business growth. And then I said, okay, who can you do this for? Well, anybody. No, Brandon. Carl, you got to just narrow this focus. He goes, okay. So he eventually narrowed it to solo practitioner law firms. They were about $1 million a year in business and wanted to be 2, 3, 4, 5 million. So before you know it, good old Carl went from making $70,000 a year, 80% haircut, to making $500,000 a year, working 25 hours a week, doing something he absolutely loved that gave him fulfillment. Why? Because what is thought leadership? That's a good question. The best way to answer the question is by drawing a contrast between an expert and a thought leader. Matt Church says an expert is someone who knows something. Experts are a dime a dozen. Lots of people know things. But a thought leader is known for knowing something. They're professionally famous. They're sought after. Experts are invisible. Thought leaders are visible. Known, bro.
Because they're marketers and they know how to sell.
Because they know something and they are known for what they know and they're effective at putting it out there. So yes, that's marketing, but it's more than marketing. It's because a lot of people that are good marketers don't know what the hell they're talking about. They're just good marketers. These are authentically heart-driven folks who have taken the time to deeply think about the issues that they purport to know something about. And they've come up with solutions. They've come up with IP around this. That's, deep. That's a thought leader. If you go today and go, okay, you know what? I'm an AI thought leader. Really? Are you now? Oh, you heard the word AI and you went on ChatGPT twice. You're an AI thought leader. I don't think so. You're not. Sorry. Okay. You're just trying to be a marketer. If you're an AI thought leader, you've spent the last 7, 8 years talking about AI, thinking about AI, working with AI. I'm not an AI thought leader. I know a little bit about AI. I've used AI to write books. Does that make me an AI thought leader? No. I have used AI to write books. I've written books myself, but I decided, hey, you know what? I'm just going to write a couple of books with AI just for the heck of it. And I did. I taught a few people how to do it. I didn't charge them for it because I'm not a thought leader in that arena. And I didn't think it was appropriate to charge for something I don't have any skills in. You know what I mean? So sure. I gave people some free value, which is good. They were all happy. The people who learned how to use AI to write a book were like, awesome, Nicky, thank you. But I'm not an AI thought leader. I am a thought leader when it comes to thought leadership. I am a thought leader about podcasting, and I am absolutely a thought leader about podcast guesting. But you've got to just understand, you can't call yourself a thought leader just because you've come up with a good marketing angle. That's an influencer. An influencer will go, I got a good hook. Let me get out there. Let me have everybody know who I am. A thought leader has some stake. They're not just selling the sizzle. I don't like sizzle sellers. You know what I'm saying? Sizzle sellers are these charlatan types. They don't really want to help people. They just want to get paid.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to just be really, really clear. I'm a capitalist. I believe in getting paid. Getting paid is very important. But if that's your only focus, I don't want to do business with you. I don't want to know you. I'm sorry. I want to work with people who care about people and want to make a difference for people. And I want to work with people whose only focus is how big can my wallet get? You know? And so the world of thought leadership, right? If you look at this fella, Carl, that I told you about, Carl had been an executive in a corporation for decades. He knew something about business growth. This wasn't like he pulled it out of his ass. He had skills. So when he approached these guys and he said, I'm going to help you grow your business, he was giving them a nice, thick, juicy, medium rare ribeye, right? At frickin' Ruth's Chris Steakhouse in New Orleans, baby, where the damn thing was practically invented. He wasn't just frying up some oil and saying this is steak, you know, and that's important. And Carl was a good man, but he was suffering because he didn't know how to let the world know that he knew how to do this. He was an expert. When we showed him how to be a thought leader, he wasn't invisible anymore. You know, and that's important. You've got to learn how to put your expertise out there in a fashion that is authentic and real. So it's real expertise, and you're not just BS in the world, but is also effective in getting the attention of the people that you want.
So let me ask you this, and because that's all amazing. And there's a lot of people out there who maybe they're inside of a company right now, but they've got something that they love to do in their life that they do know very well. So maybe they're in the corporate world, but they practice Qigong. It's brought them a lot of calm and peace to their life. Or they've been in leadership and they're like, you know, I love helping leaders. I want to do it in other companies also. Or they help teams to optimize their fitness. And they said, you know, I want to help everywhere do this, because if you optimize your fitness, you're going to be able to sell more and be a better contributing member of a team. Okay, great. So my first question is, how do you know when you know something deeply enough to consider yourself a thought leader? Because you mentioned the idea of imposter syndrome earlier. So how do you know whether it's okay to begin marketing your prowess and marketing your expertise versus continuing to learn until you know enough?
Well, that's a great question. One of the things that you really need to think about is, have you used your thought leadership, your expertise, to help yourself or others solve a level 10 problem? What's a level 10 problem? That's like what, you know, in the coaching world, we call like a bleeding neck, a set the bones type problem. Imagine that, you know, someone is a doctor, right? You go see that doctor because your neck's bleeding or your bones are broken, you want them set. So if you are able to set the bones or stop bleeding in the neck in an area and you've done it, then you might be ready to start putting yourself out there as a thought leader, you know. But you also have to think through and write out in a structured fashion your expertise in a variety of different nuances in an area. So inside my work, one of the things that I've done is I've really focused on high performance and winning. So I created 57 discrete pieces of intellectual property, what I call intellectual property snapshots. So these are one-pagers that go deep into various aspects of winning. So there's a statement, there's a deeper explanation, there's some case studies, there's a literature review, and then there's a visual model for each of these. And this allows me to sharpen my thinking in this arena. And it'll also, what's really cool about it is it also allows me to create programs, talks. So I got 57 discrete pieces of IP here, bro. That's 57 potential keynote talks or podcast appearance talks. I could take a dozen of those and create a 12-week coaching program. You know what I mean? I could take, I could break them up into themes, and I could have a 3-day weekend retreat on high performance for salespeople as an example. And I could take like 5 of these pieces of IP in each theme area for each day of the program. Problem solved. You know what I mean? And all this sounds great. The bad news is you're on the wrong side of a whole lot of hard slog work, right?
Oh, yeah.
You got to sit down and do this. that's part of what we do with people when we do our 3-day branded thought leader immersion workshops. We help people make a decade's worth of progress in just a few days, all around thought leadership. And it's a beautiful thing. It's truly a beautiful thing. And I'll give you an example of someone else we worked with in this regard. There was a woman. She was a naturopathic doctor of natural medicine. Okay. And she doesn't like having her name used, so I'm just going to call her Sue. So Sue, Dr. Sue, came to us, and she had a lot of expertise, and she was seeing patients, but she wasn't able to leverage herself that way. So we helped her do one thing really well, which is own her value. So we upped her rates because she was undercharging massively. That automatically helped her dramatically increase her income. But we told her, look, you need to create a program. So she created a 24-week program, and she had 24 discrete pieces of IP, and she put it together, and she started marketing it to people. And she started charging $15,000 a head. And brother, she signed up so many people like that. She was able to work with more people in less time, get them better results than she did seeing patients one-on-one. And when she came to see us, she was already successful. She was making 6 figures a year. But over a 3-year period, it took us 3 years to really get this done with her. She went from making 6 figures a year to making 6 figures a month. Month. You know what I'm saying, brother? 6 figures a month. It's a beautiful thing. It truly is. It's a beautiful thing. It truly is. Yeah. Because 6 figures a month. This woman became a world-renowned thought leader. Podcasts seek her out now, right? She was hired by the national team of an oceanic country to be their team doctor because she became known as a thought leader. And she went from making 6 figures a year, 6 figures a month. She was a millionaire annually. That's the beauty of thought leadership. She owned her value. She started to take the IP that she already had, put it out in a structured way, put it together. Boom. Done.
Yeah. What's up, Be Better family? It's Brandon Eastman here. And as a thank you for tuning in to the Be Better broadcast, I want to give you a very special gift. For a limited time, you can get a free digital copy of my book titled Be Extraordinary, Your Guide to Self-Mastery. This book is packed with insights and actionable steps that will help you to unlock your fullest potential in the 5 key areas of your life. But that's not all. Along with the book, I also want to give you the audiobook version absolutely free. Imagine having the power to transform your life right at your fingertips and in your ears anytime, anywhere. Go grab your copy at bebetterindustriescom/book. You'll also find the link in the episode show notes. Go and grab your copy and join me in making a positive impact on the world. Now back to the show. That's so important, those factors of packaging what you know and creating IP from it, structuring it in a way that makes sense, structuring it in a marketable and saleable way. And like what you said, also raising your prices in time, right? And that's kind of jumping to step 8 here maybe, but raising your prices once you've got the social proof, once you've got people who are getting results. Because when I can guarantee, correct me if I'm wrong, those people she was working with for $15,000 a head were very different people in terms of mindset and expectations than people who might have been paying $1,000 a head.
Well, that's a good point. I never specifically checked in with about that, but I would imagine that would be the case. And the other thing that I can say to you is when she did this, the people in the community who were also clients of ours, who saw her explode in this fashion, they all started picking up their game. You know, my buddy Mark von Muster talks about something called the egregore effect. That's when you're in a group, okay, there's a collective energy that gets created. And when someone starts to win and you're part of the group, it makes you believe it can happen for you at a way higher level than you would if you were by yourself or if you were in a different group where that wasn't happening. So her getting to that status elevated everybody else's success because their level of belief went up. So she made herself $1 million, but she probably made a few million for the rest of the folks in the group just because of her success.
100%.
God bless her for that. But also God bless me and my beautiful lady, Teresa, my partner in life and business, who runs the program with us, because we created an environment that allows for this type of thing to happen and to flourish.
Yes. That's amazing. And this is what you're saying right now. A lot of people might think, oh, she went from 6 figures to 6 figures a year to 6 figures a month. Like, how can that be possible for one person to do without a massive team? What you're talking about is so possible. It's so realistic. And a lot of people are doing it. You might just not know those people, but a lot of people are doing this. They're living wherever they want to as a result, right? But a lot of people listening, Nicky, are doing well in business. They were Carl, right? Maybe they're the executive, they're the leader, they're making 100 grand, 200 grand, 300, whatever it is. But they're thinking to themselves, man, if I could add an additional $2,000 to $3,000 a month onto my income from something like this, that'd be amazing. If I could add 30 grand a year to what it is I'm doing professionally, that would pay for daycare. That'd pay for our mortgage. That'd pay for our car payment. Like, some people love their jobs and they love working for the company they work with. Maybe they're not built to be a business owner. I'm under the belief that not everyone's built to be a business owner. And I'm curious to see what you think on that. Maybe you disagree, and that'd be awesome if you did. I'd love to talk about it. But let me ask you this. The reality of someone adding an additional $30,000 a year to their paycheck, how soon could someone make that happen for themselves if they're brand new to this idea of thought leadership, but they have something they're great at, they know they can serve people, they just haven't packaged it and they just haven't gone out there and marketed it yet? How realistic is that?
The fastest someone did that from a standing start was 13 days.
Wow.
13 days to 30 grand.
Tell me about
average, I will in a moment. The average person who wants to make an extra $30,000 does it in between 30 and 90 days. So this particular individual was motivated. They had been in real estate sales. They'd been burned out in that. They didn't want to do that anymore and got into business. And they hired me and joined eCircle. And we had a challenge. And we said, okay, let's get out there and get you 30K in the next 30 days. This dude was so motivated. We put a coaching program together for him, and he was selling it for $3,000 at the time. And I said, look, you're going to go after other realtors who want and need this. You know a lot of them. He goes, yeah, I know a lot of them. I said, you're going to dial for dollars, brother. And that's what he did. 13 days, he signed up 10 dudes.
Wow. He just by making phone calls, because that's the marketing part of it. That's marketing and sales. So he just started calling people he already knew or calling other realtors he didn't know.
No, he called everyone he knew. It was a warm market strategy. That's what it was, a warm market strategy. And he said, look, I got something I want to talk to you about. You interested? Boom. That's how it was. Now, you also got to understand, we got to come back to this point of view of raising your prices. Raising your prices is not just, hey, I want a cash grab. Let's raise my prices. Yeah, no. Most people in this space undercharge because they don't want to be seen as a price gouger. They also don't think that their stuff is worth it, or they think it's worth it, but they don't think anybody can pay or will pay. And here's what I say. When you undercharge, you hurt your client. When you undercharge, you hurt your client. So I'm gonna show you something, okay? This is a book I wrote called The Thought Leader's Journey. It is a blueprint for exactly the kind of person you talk about, who's got a job and wants to start something. This book is available on Amazon for 20 bucks. Okay. Everything you need to know about how to create $1 million a year practice is in this book. Brandon, can I say that again? Everything you need to know about how to create $1 million a year practice is in this book. I have given away and sold hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of copies of this. Do you want to know how many of those people who got this book either for free or for 20 bucks used it to make $1 million practice? Never mind even $1 million practice, to make even $30,000 a year more for themselves. How many who just got the book?
How many?
Out of the hundreds and hundreds of people? Zero. Now, Brandon, zero who just got the book. Now,
okay.
A number of people who got the book also ended up signing up for our workshops and coaching programs. Now, my workshops and coaching programs, the cheapest one is $2,000. The most expensive one's $100,000. Now, I'm going to talk about the folks who did my $15,000 a year program. Now, not even a year, $15,000 program. I'm just going to call it that. Okay. So I've had probably, say, close to 200 people that have done that. How many of those do you think added at least $100,000 to their income?
I'm going to guess and say 85%.
No, it's not that high, but it's over 50%. It's over 50%.
Pretty good.
So you spend 15 grand, you make 100. Would you do that every day, all day long, and twice on Sundays? Because I know I would, right?
Yep.
It's a huge return. Now, were these people smarter or better than the people that just spent $0 to $20? Were they?
Probably not.
No. In fact, I can tell you that some of the people that just spent $0 to $20 are some of the most brilliant, intelligent, incisive people you've ever met in your life. But that first group had no skin in the game. They had no incentive. This was not valuable. It was a $20 book, and they valued it at 20 bucks. What do you do with something you value at 20 bucks, my brother? Not much. It's 20 bucks.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to show you something if I can find it, all right?
Sure.
Okay. Hold on, here we go. I am an avid knife collector. It's one of my passions, okay? This here is a Kershaw Emerson CQC4 knife. This knife is $35, okay? It's a great knife, but it is on my desk. I don't take particularly great care of it. If I need to cut something, I can use it. You can see this knife, right, Brandon? It's pretty clear to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is a $30 knife. Now, remember, I just rooted around on my desk and I grabbed it and I showed you. Now, I want to show you another knife. It's
in a case, so I know it's more expensive and valuable to you.
This is a Greg Lightfoot. I think
it's a nice knife.
Yeah, this knife is made with mammoth tooth handles and Damascus, which is titanium and Damascus steel, which is very, very intricate, difficult to make. The blade is made out of a special kind of Damascus steel made by a fellow named Chad Nichols. Okay. This was handmade, and it took the fellow who made it 1.5 months to make it for me.
Wow.
This knife is 100 times more expensive. No, it's $3 grand. $3 grand.
Okay.
100 times more expensive than this knife. This knife always goes in a case. This knife is oiled. This knife is well taken care of. I don't usually cut things with it, although it cuts really, really well. Why? I value that.
Because it's more valuable.
You got it. The people who spent 15 grand with me, they valued that money. They're like, I'm going to get a return. The people who spent $0 to $20, I don't really care.
Let me ask you a question.
People, let me just make this point. I want to make sure everybody gets this. When you undercharge people, you rob them of the value of your solution because they won't value it properly. They will not be invested. They won't do the work they need to do to get the result. And if they're hurting, if they got a big, big problem, you need to stack the deck in favor of them taking the action they need to take to get the problem solved. So don't you dare undercharge. You're hurting people when you undercharge.
So let me ask you this question then, because you're giving a lot of free information away right now. Okay. So let's talk about the person who might be newer to the game. Maybe they've got some results, but they think to themselves, I'm newer. I need to build a name for myself. Let's say they do team trainings. Okay. Let's say they say to themselves, I'm going to deliver a free lunch and learn for maybe a team of 15 people with the intention of, if that goes well, which they know it will, then they can present their higher ticket product. While that's free, is there value in something like that? Or would you recommend to that person just charge from the get-go? What are your thoughts on that?
No, absolutely not. That's why I give my books away for free and I sell them for $20. You want people that are not in a position to invest, first of all, to get a taste of what you can do.
Yep.
Number one. And number two, you want people that are in a position to invest, but frankly, don't know who the heck you are, to at least get a sense of what you can do for them. Don't give away the whole store, but you give them a free sample. That's a time-honored technique in business. You give people free samples. Look, man, there's a shop here in Toronto called McEwen's, okay? McEwen's is a bit of a high-end grocery store. Everything they sell there is expensive, man. Even apples are like $3 each, for crying out loud. You know what I'm saying? McEwen's puts out things for you to sample that are delicious and expensive. And they put it out all the time. Now, right now, I'm training for a bodybuilding contest, so I can't go to McEwen's and sample things anymore. I got to be real careful with what I eat. But back in the day, man, I'd go to McEwen's and sample everything. Now, guess what happened after I sampled a few things? I bought a whole bunch of them, right? And I intended to go to McEwen's maybe to buy one or two things, and I'd come out buying 13 or 14. I intended to spend $50, and I ended up spending $300. So absolutely, you want to go out there and let people who don't know who you are get a sense of who you are, get a taste of what you're able to offer. But when you're delivering your full solution to fully solve a problem with somebody, brother, it's in their interest that they pay a price, not a gouging price, but a price that makes them feel like, hey, man, I bought something worthwhile, because I forget the name of the law right now. It was on the tip of my tongue and I lost it. If it comes back, I'll say it. But there's a law which states that people, no, it's not reciprocity. There's a law that states that people value, it's okay, brother. I'm glad you jumped in. You're trying to help me out. I appreciate it, brother. But there's a law that says that people's use and investment in something is based on what they value it at. And if they value it as cheap, like I do with my little Emerson, this is just a knife I use to cut stuff up when I'm on my desk. Boom. But when they value it at a higher level, they take good care. This knife, hopefully, is a knife I'm going to give to my eldest son as an heirloom for him to say, son, this knife was custom made for your father by the great Greg Lightfoot, right, of Lethbridge, Alberta. And Greg Lightfoot is a man who spent a lifetime becoming a master craftsman when it came to building beautiful custom knives. I'm going to tell him a whole story. You know what I mean? And if let's just say you and I were talking, and let's just say, Brandon, you said to me, Nicky, you know what? I make $500,000 a year, but gosh darn it, I want to make 10 million. Do you think you can help me? And I'd say, you know what? I know I can because I've helped other folks do it. And then you say, okay, great. Well, let me tell you, this is what I've done. This is what I got to do. And at the end, I go, Brandon, you know what? I got a plan. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to do the other. And it's a 3-year plan. But in 3 years, we'll at least get you to 3 million on a trajectory to hit 10 million within 5. And you're going to go, Nicky, man, that sounds great. Awesome. Let's get going. Yeah, I'm in. What do you charge? And I said, Brandon, $50. You're going to look at me and go, what? $50? What the hell are you talking about, Nicky? That's not what? You're not going to take me seriously, bro. If I said 50 grand, you take me seriously. Now, you may be in a position to invest 50 grand. You may not. That's a whole different story. Okay. But you would go, this dude, he knows what he's talking about. to get me from $500,000 to 10 million, 50 grand a year is about right. What I should be paying, maybe even a little more, certainly not $50. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
that's the whole point. That's the whole point. And when we taught this to Dr. Sue, brother, the world of naturopathic doctors, they're like, we're healers. We don't even want to do this business stuff. And Dr. Sue was like, yeah, I'm a healer, but I want to value myself and I want to help more people.
Yeah.
So absolutely, I want to learn this business stuff and I want to make money. Boom.
Yep. I love this. This is amazing. You've given some tactical things already, but I'm curious to know, now people have a really great idea. They're thinking, wow, I'm really good at this thing. I could make some extra money doing this thing. Maybe it's $1 million a year. Maybe it's 30 grand a year, whatever it is. How would you suggest someone begin marketing themselves? Like, let's talk to that person who wants to do the free training, which leads to bigger investments. How would you recommend that person market themselves in a way that makes them the thought leader and helps to position themselves to the market? What are some tactical things you can share?
So, number one is you've got to get really clear on who you help, right? Like Carl earlier on. You got to get clear on who you help. Number two is you got to get clear on what is the bleeding neck problem that these folks have. If you're not clear on the problem and who has it, you're not going to be able to do a good job of putting yourself out there. And then after that, brother, you need to very credibly position that you have a solution to the problem and that you are uniquely qualified, better than anyone in the marketplace, to solve this problem for them. And that's where thought leadership comes in. That's where, having done all the work to figure out your IP and put yourself out there comes in. I am really wary of somebody who's new in business and goes, hey man, gosh darn it, you know what? I work to think through my IP. I haven't put any of this stuff down on paper, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to get out there and say I'm the man, and I'm going to just start getting on shows and doing podcast interviews. No, man, sit down and figure this stuff out. Figure it out. You don't go in the gym and lift 400 pounds on the bench press your first freaking day. Maybe start with the bar. You know what I mean? And that's super, super important. And this fella, Carl. So Carl was 57 when he met us, right? He'd been an executive vice president. He'd been working in manufacturing for 30 years, bro. 30 years. That's why it was easy for Carl to come and say, yeah, I can talk about this. And I want to just be really clear. If you know nothing about an area and you're just excited about it, sorry, you got to pay your dues a little bit. And I would advise you, learn about how thought leadership can help you get crossover skills and apply them to this area, because that's part of what we show people how to do, right? So Carl had never worked with lawyers before, but he knew about business growth. So he was a quick study on how to help them with their specific issues, because the problems were common to everybody. And I want to just tell you before we wrap up, one last story real quick. Okay. So about 6 years ago, I was introduced to a lady who had been the country director for one of the world's largest and best known personal development companies. I'm not going to mention the name because, again, she doesn't want her name used. And this is a really well-known company in that space. So she brought on somebody to help her run things because she thought this dude was very talented. And for about a year, everything was great. But after a year, their visions of the future diverged. Kind of like Steve Jobs back in the day with John Scully and Apple. Mm-hmm. And they started to clash. And there was a board of directors, and the board of directors sided with him, and she was out, just like Steve Jobs. Now you go, how the hell do you get kicked out of a company you start? When there's a board of directors involved, very easily, right? Very easily, right? So, long story short was she got lost for about 18 months. She just didn't know where she was going. Someone introduced her to us, and we loved on her. We poured into her. And when she came to us, we helped her see who she needed to go after, who she was moved to work with, what problem she could solve for them, which was to deal with burnout. and she was going after entrepreneurs with $10 million plus companies. And we put an offer together. We helped her price it right. So, brother, after 18 months of, no business, she did 10 grand in her first month, 12 grand in her second month, 18 grand in her third month, 62,200 in her fourth month. Now, that number will become germane in a moment. Now, she is from Ottawa, Canada. I live in Toronto, Canada. That's a 5-hour drive. My oldest son plays soccer. 6 years ago, he was 12. And he had a tournament in Ottawa. So I called her up and I said, we're coming to your hometown. I know you got a son my son's age. How would you guys like to come and watch him play? And maybe we could have lunch after. She said, that sounds great. So we did that. Everybody had a great time. I drove back to Toronto. She and her son went home. A few weeks later, we had one of our quarterly branded thought leader immersion workshops. And we got to the point where we had an enrollment opportunity, right? We talk about the next program people can participate in to help grow their businesses. And the way that I do it, brother, is I ask people to share what they got out of working with us.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant, third-party validation strategy. And usually, I just say, who'd like to share? And that's what I did this time. And usually people put their hands up. But this time, this lady, I'm going to call her Julie. Julie just bounded up on stage, almost ran me down. And I'm like, whoa, okay, come on over. And just one sec.
Yep.
And so she started to stand in the front of the stage and she's going like this. I don't know what's going on. And then I hear sobs. I'm like, why is she crying? There's something wrong. Oh my God, why is she crying? Teresa, my lady, comes on, gives her a tissue. She gratefully accepts. She turns to me in between sobs. She says, Nicky, you didn't know this, but when you and your little son came to visit me and my little son in Ottawa, my little son said, Mommy, who are we going to go meet? And she says, oh, sweetheart, we're going to meet Nicky Billou and his son. And she said, all of a sudden, her boisterous 12-year-old son got very quiet and said, oh, Mommy, are we going to meet the man who saved our family?
Wow.
Bro, I'm from Iran. You may have gathered that I'm not a snowflake. I'm an old school, masculine man. I don't cry in public. Tough as nails. I cried like a little girl. We both hugged, and she said, between her sobs, you didn't know this, but when I came to see you, the bank was about to foreclose on her. My husband and I were fighting like cats and dogs in front of our kids, and it looked like we were going to break up, and my kids were worried we were going to lose our family, and so was I. And I didn't call on anybody else after her because just what are you going to do,
Exactly.
We handed out our registration forms. And brother, you need to understand, we sold and sell a $40,000 a year annual mastermind, okay? Some people buy, some people don't. Some people need to ask questions, right? Everyone signed up on the spot.
Awesome.
Everyone. Have you ever heard of that happening before? Because before this, I had not. I'd never been in a room with that high ticket a program that everybody bought.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because of Nicky frickin' Billou's amazing sales skills, brother. You know what I'm saying? It was because a little boy shared his heart with his mom, and his mom shared her heart with everybody in the room. And I realized then that my father had taught me well, believe in people, love on people, pour into them. And that's my job every day. I look for the next person to do this with. And on that note, brother, that's a wrap.
That's brilliant. I love that, brother. Hey, listen, everyone listening, go to eCircleacademy.com/appointment. Nicky's offering a success call with you. It doesn't cost you a thing to see if you'd be a good fit for one of his programs. Links are in the description. Nicky, it's been amazing talking with you, brother. You're an amazing storyteller, and you're getting results for people, and you're helping people in a big way in many different ways. So thank you very much for joining us, brother. And I appreciate you, and I respect the mission that you're on. Thank you.
God bless you. Thank you.
There you have it. The roadmap to make an extra $30,000 a year or more based on your unique skills, where it is you want to go and how you want to help people. I think one of the biggest threads of this conversation was love on people, want to help people, and you'll go far. But you got to know how to market. You got to know how to sell, and you got to package what it is you know. Links are in the description to reach out to Nicky, ecircleacademy.com/appointment. And if you found anything useful from this conversation, I sure hope you did. I personally did. Please share this show with just one other person who could use it as well. Thank you so much for watching and listening. And until we talk again next time, continue to be better.